Good morning, everyone. Hello, welcome. Big Dano Paints. About to get started on a super cool model. This guy. It's a Kickstarter coming up very soon. We're going to paint it today. We've got lots of exciting things to play with today. Let's go turn on our palette because we're using the palette that comes in the Kickstarter as well. Let's zoom in on the palette and see what it looks like. What did I do with my palette cam, Dano? I've damaged palette cam somehow, friends. It's a great start to the stream. There we go. That'll do for the moment. Alright, well. The first thing we're going to do, let's turn the exposure down a bit. There we go. First thing we're going to do is go and have a look at the artwork upon which this model is based. Brom alone. Images. Okay, so here it is. Here is the actual piece in question. You see it's got a very red tone, quite a red oxide colour. Marble's quite red, so we'll probably use some reds as a airbrush layer under the base. Let's think. We've also picked up some of these, which are the new Kickstarter paints. So we will try those out. Maybe not on this piece. Morning, Simon. Having a great day, mate. Thank you. Yeah, maybe not on this piece, but we definitely will try them out. So we will go with our red oxide from Chimera. If I can find it. There it is. Haha. Yeah, very cool to be able to play with some new toys. And get access to some Kickstarter models to paint for everyone. Bit of fun. There was a Brisbane Display Painters Guild meeting yesterday, which unfortunately I wasn't able to attend. It was Mother's Day for me, so happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there as well. Mrs. Big Dano, absolute superstar. That makes it sound like I'm married to my mum. No, just my mum. She's a legend. Absolute superstar. Puts up with me, has put up with me for many years. So she's a loose cannon. I might just have a little play with this colour. It's a heavy body acrylics, this range. So, oh, cool. So I've never actually used heavy body acrylics. I don't think I've ever used them on stream. First observation. Be careful when you open the lid. No. I call my mum Wol. I've called her Wol since I was about 10 years old. It's a family nickname for her. So everyone in my family just calls my mum Wol. It's apparently there was this commercial on television many years ago. My mum was quite into painting. She used to do oil painting. One of the places I got my love of little toy soldier painting was from her. Yeah, so there was apparently this little commercial where there was a monkey that used to paint, and everyone in my family thought it would be hilarious to call my mum after the monkey. The monkey's name was Wally Wampamua, apparently, painting monkey. So everyone in my family just called my mum Wol. And this has happened from before I was born, so don't know why, how it stuck, but it stuck. So I've never called my mum by her actual name. I've never called my mum by mum ever in my life that I can recall. All right. No Patreon yet in Santium, sorry to say. Maybe at some point in the next little while. Got a fair bit of work ahead in my current job before that will finish up, which I need to probably get through before I can start seriously thinking about Patreon. This is a super cool Kickstarter model, mates, from an upcoming Kickstarter called from My Work Games. Gerald Brom is the Kickstarter, so pretty cool. What is it called? It's called Brom, The Art of Brom Kickstarter. G'day Kragzog. It's a medium deno to you, mate. So yeah, the Kickstarter's going live at the end of this month, and I got sent a whole pile of toys to play with. I've got a new wet palette. I've got this, which is actually a brush, My Work Games brush, and I've got a couple of models. So I'll show off the other model later on. But this model is the one I chose to start with. Now, even though I was sent this cool stuff, friends, you can still be assured of one concrete fact, that I will tell you exactly how I feel about all of these things with nothing but absolute honesty. because that is how I do this hobby of twitching. And preliminary thoughts on the wet palette are very good. I set it up 2 days ago and filled it up with water, and it is still wet, which is different to the one that I've currently got. It generally dries out in about 2 days. So maybe new sponge. Not sure, but very promising start. So we're going to start this model and relatively closely to the artwork, but we probably will find ourselves diverging at some point. And that's one of the, I think we talked about this, Bucks and I, a little while back on stream. It's quite interesting, the move to replicate fantasy artwork in miniature form. You know, we've seen a lot of companies, Mineworks being the most prevalent one, doing that. And I think I've expressed that I really enjoy that, because the opportunities that you have there, I guess one of the things that most people really struggle with when they start in miniature painting is, well, what do I paint it like in the display world anyway? What colors do I use? How do I paint it? So you can choose with a model that's based on some artwork to replicate that artwork, but you don't have to. You know, you can move in a completely different direction, and you can also do that partway through the thing. It's nice to have a framework to start with. I've also been very much appreciating fantasy art a lot more recently. I bought a little book, which I'll get Mossy to grab. Hey Mossy, yeah? Can you grab that little art book for me whenever you get up next? Good one. Thanks. Yeah, so I bought this little masterpieces of fantasy art book. So I've been getting right into fantasy art, and that actually came from when I was at Bucks's house the other day, and I was looking at artwork from him. So artwork in his collection. So this is Boris Vallejo, probably the greatest fantasy artist of all time, along with Frank Frazetta. So anyway, no story time, just some cool pictures. I'll show it off later. The good old days, yes. Wish there was a way to know that we're in the good old days whilst we're still in them. Anyway, there's been a move recently to replicate fantasy art, and I hope it continues for a long time, because it can also provide you a really good exercise in replicating the colours, the style, of that fantasy art, which I think is awesome. Should I be feeling guilty? Judges down. feedback on the paintbrush is also very promising. I actually had a mail call this week. It was a week of absolute shit tons of new toys to play with. So we got these Kickstarter pieces, and we also got a collection of artist opus brushes, which we'll dive into after this Kickstarter, I think. And I'm actually very excited because I was running low on brushes. So my thoughts on AI art. I read a quote on the internet the other day which I thought was fantastic, and I'll share it with you now. AI art is going in the wrong direction. I don't need a computer to be creating my art for me. What I need is a computer to be doing all the boring shit in my life so that I can spend more time doing art. AI art is going in absolutely the wrong direction. Craig Zog, I gave the People's Champion dry brush set away to someone else. So that's actually just a set of the artist brushes. As an actual, I guess, miniature artist, is that a term that we should use? Probably not. As someone who paints a lot of models and has a very big appreciation for the amount of effort that goes into great miniature art, and I guess great art as well, I think AI art is a concern. It's not perfect, but I have no doubt that at some point in the future it will be perfected, and that will mean a lot of people's livelihoods are taken away from them, and I don't like that. Art is, yeah. Bucks is probably a better person to ask that question, mate. He's got a lot of feelings. I do love miniature art. I do love art in general. Anything that is a attack on that for those people, something that we should be wary and cautious of. Yeah, ask him on Monday. Like, I probably can't articulate well enough, but it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel good that artists' work is being utilised without their permission, for starters. And that this is replacing those artists. Doesn't feel good. Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's go. Alright, great little hobby tip for everyone. Next time your significant other drags you to a chemist warehouse, Priceline, which we all know happens, right? Happens all the time. Just pick yourself up a makeup brush at the low price of, I don't know how much it was, but it was fuck all, like $5. Where did I put it? I got a brand new makeup brush. Perfect for dry brushing, $5. I can't find it, but it's somewhere. I put it in here. I put it in my drawer. Well, it's a brand new makeup brush and it's great. Mossy's stolen it. She's stolen my makeup brush that I bought for my toys. What a rat bag. I was going to use that today too. Oh, it's going to be a punch on here. Whew. Okay, let's move into just this colour and this colour with no red before we move into some cold whites. So just a reminder of the original art again. Oh yeah, we move into some oranges as well. That's cool. So I think the two pieces that were chosen for me for this wonderful project were chosen for a specific reason, which is my style is very much suited to the rougher, more textured pieces. Sure, you'll see some other people doing ones that are slightly more feminine. I've painted a few female models in my time, but I would say that it is not my forte. So the way that I approach painting, if you're new, if you've hopped on because of the Kickstarter, I like to do a lot of very high contrast, and then I'll use an airbrush to filter it, soften it, and then we'll go back in and make some very final detail changes. So this is looking very heavily contrasted at the moment, but it will soften think we will use pastel blue. So what I'm doing with I'm using a little bit of a cold color now, just to contrast with the red, which is a very warm color. So we'll have, yeah, if you go to my, hello Necro Tomb, if you go to my Instagram, there's a link on my profile, and I should probably grab the link now to share. So that I can share about it very soon. Let me grab the link for you. Doing well, mate? That is it. Coming out soon. If you go and look on the Mindworks Games page, you'll see there's quite a few models. I think there's 10 maybe. Yeah, I'll show off the other one I've got very shortly. Don't think there's been too many pictures shown of it actually, so. So yeah, we've used a mixture of pastel blue and white for this little highlight, and that is to create a little bit of contrast with the warm reds into a colder blue. Hope you're doing well also, Necro. Some crazy stuff coming out of the US overnight with pictures of like the Northern Lights visible from some places in America or Canada. Not sure. G'day, Sean. Crazy. Apparently you can see the Northern Lights from Tasmania, the bottom of Australia on occasion. That's crazy. South Dakota. Alright, so airbrush time. Let me show this dude off first. So this is the second model in the Kickstarter that I received. So I'll zoom him out. Haven't finished his gap filling or assembly yet, but this is another piece of artwork. Pretty unreal. He's got a cool whip thing that hangs down here, which I've pinned. So yeah, I think they chose pieces of artwork, miniature art that would suit my style, which is very cool. Yeah, awesome model. Awesome. So we did this one first. All right, let's do some airbrushing. I don't really change my PSI that much. Normally what you do is you change your amount that you pull back the trigger and how dilute the paint is. So you tend to control the PSI with your finger control more so than actually changing the PSI. Yep, so that was the pure mid-tone. And now I'm going to do a little bit of high color or light color. But we might actually whip out a color we haven't used yet. And then I'm going to do some glazes with inks. So I'm going to use a color called Highlight Skin from Nocturna, if I can find it. Very nice color for this type of thing. Maybe we'll just use light flesh, perhaps. See if I can find highlight skin mixing this. Let's, oh. Desaturated white green. So I would start desaturated and then add saturation. It's much easier to do that than it is the other way around. In my experience. Just morning, Yab. Oops. Alright, so now we're going to whip out some inks. So I normally use contrast paints for this, but let's actually use inks. So I think I have an ink oxide. There we go, Inktense oxide. I'm trying to do out of this step is just re-add some tonal variation around the model, predominantly focused in the shadows, but we need a bit more. Cool. Now, I advocate all the time for never considering an area finished until you've painted other areas around it. So let's paint some other areas around this. And let's try, we're going to use some of these new colours because I am a sucker for punishment. So let's try carbon black. Always good to get a good black. Cool. Heavy body acrylics. Not something I'm very experienced at using. No teal yet, my friend, yet. Just relax. It's early days. Paints are indeed a part of the Kickstarter. Here they are. Brom Artist Palette. And Phthalocyanine green, you say? So don't be looking to me for expert use on these paints. G'day Chumdab, this is literally the first time that I have ever used these paints, and it's also probably the first time that I've ever used heavy body acrylics. So let's not expect miracles from the big fella. Yeah, easy name to say. I know some people absolutely swear by heavy body acrylics. It's not been for me, but it's okay. Always good to try new things. So I think you'll see that the skin changes appearance now based on the addition of this dark colour next to the hair, on the hair, next to the head. It will make the skin completely change its appearance. No, neither have I. How do I feel so far? They're okay. They're okay. Let's go to that big brush again. Heavy bodies for people that do a lot of like color mixing. You know, like I like to consider people that use heavy body acrylics real genuine artists because they do a lot of color mixing, and that's just not something I do. Some might say that's because I'm lazy. To those people, I would say you're a peanut. I forgot his feet. What an idiot. Why do you always do this, Deno? Forget about his feet. What an absolute pest. Alright, so this is where we get to maybe add a little bit of our own personal taste in things. So there's a very warm colour palette. That's the Kickstarter page that I was looking at. We've got a very dark red there. The skin's got, more oranges, more little tones that we'll add, don't worry. It's a white dove. That's quite cool, actually. So we may go into more of a greenish hue on some areas. Just gonna hair dry that. Yeah, they do have a really nice finish. The paints. But yeah, what's my favourite monster movie? Universal monster movie. Do you mean are you talking about like the monster universe, like the Mummy and Dracula and those ones, or are you just talking about in general King Kong? You know those guys. Broad question. Oh look, mate, it's probably King Kong. That's King Kong, isn't it? That's the one. If King Kong's not one, I'll have to pick someone else. Dracula. Let's add a bit of orange to the mix, I think. Light orange from thingy. That's a good question. Insantium. Yeah, more recently I've actually been sort of closer to the 2 hour mark in general. Back in the day I used to aim for 3 hours. But yeah, nowadays it's more like 2.5. Sometimes I go to 3, but it's probably not by any design, implicit design, or anything like that. It's probably more just a byproduct of, you know, I do my streams on a Sunday morning, so this is Sunday morning for me. So yeah, I tend to get hungry at sort of around the time that things finish up. And yeah, usually have like other things I want to get done for the day, so there's probably no real specific reason other than that. And then on a Monday night when I stream, I start at about 7, and you know, about 9:30 I tend to be ready for bed. So good question though. Hadn't really thought about it. Alright, so we will need to build in some more colour down there, but let's do the cloak thing. Yeah, I mean, there was a period in time when I was streaming 3 times, 4 times a week. Very excited about it. You know, really enjoyed the time dedicated. But what I was finding was that then was the only time that I was painting, and you know, I like to just feel energized to paint whenever I feel like it. You know, if it's a afternoon and I'm excited about painting something, I want to get it in paint. If it's a you know, evening and I'm excited to sit down and paint, I want to paint. And what I was feeling like when I was doing multiple streams a week was, oh, I want to do some painting. No, that's fine. I'll just wait till I'm on stream. I'll wait till my next stream time. Maybe psychological more than anything else, because the actual amount of time that I paint is probably no different. Alright. It's time to move into one of my favourite things to do, which is to highlight red with green, and the greatest colour of all time, pistachio. Alright, so first observation on the heavy body acrylics, they don't cover with as much potency. So they are probably not in my bag. How often do I paint on string these days? Probably a couple of times a week. But it ebbs and flows. You know, when we get into the big project that we're about to dive into, models should be arriving this week, by the way. Yeah, you know, I'll probably be powering onto it all the time. You know, pretty much every spare moment will be on painting. There's also a group of painters that get together on Discord of an evening. Friends of mine, you would know some of them. Jared Bucks. G'day, Case. I tend to get onto Discord every evening and paint till the wee hours and talk about all sorts of things. I don't do that very much. Yeah, so we will start to deviate a little bit from the artwork now. We've got some nice callbacks to the artwork, but we're not going to be following it to a T. Get my favourite Citadel colour, the only Citadel colour that is not a contrast paint that I own. The glorious Rhinox hide. Alright, so overall verdict on all of the things that have been given to me by these wonderful people at Mindworks Games. As always, honest opinions. Wet palet's very good. The paper is very, very good. It could even be better than my baking paper. Which is saying something. People that have been on the stream for a while would know that I highly rate my baking paper. So this could actually be better than the baking paper. The sponge appears to be also better. Very, very good. So the wet palette gets a big tick of approval. The brushes, this is the other Mindworks game brush. So I enjoy the size 2. It feels like a nice, large well. This one's probably fractionally too long for me. So the actual bristles are just a smidge too long. Yeah, the red grass paper is one that I probably was prevented from getting any more free stuff from red grass because I said I didn't like it. But yeah, I prefer baking paper over the red grass paper, but I may very strongly consider this Mindworks Games paint baking paper, because it's doing a really good job over there. The model is absolutely incredible. Both of the models are absolutely incredible, so I don't think that was ever going to be in question, but you know, it is what it is. And then the final heavy body acrylics. I just don't think I'm a heavy body acrylics painter in general. I don't think they work for me. I know Casey uses heavy body acrylics. Scale, artists, colours, something like that maybe. Where are you based, Necro Tomb? Off the top of my head, I think Taro Model Maker is based in the US. It could be based in the UK actually. But Taro Model Maker does some great plinths. I get all my plinths from a dude up here in Brisbane. His name's Jim from Jim's Bases. He does awesome stuff. But yeah, there's probably quite a few plinth manufacturers in the US, I would imagine. Am I right in saying Caleb Wissenbach does bases? Is that anyone on stream know if I'm absolutely pulling shit out of my ass? I feel like he does. Just Google Caleb Wissenbach and see if your bases pop up, because if it does, first of all, I'm a genius. But all my plinths I get from Jim from beautiful Brisbane. Lovely man, Jimbo. Does all sorts of wonderful wood bases. He makes special ones for me because he knows I like big dioramas. So he's made all my plinths for my big dioramas. Yes, Siona also makes bases in Brisbane. We're spoilt for choice, really, when it comes to plinths in Australia. He's a great dude, Jimbo. So yeah, I'll just relay a little quick Jim story. So first time I went over there, I was like, because I'd met him at Queensland Model Hobby Expo. First time I went over there, I was sort of expecting, oh yeah, I'll pop in, I'll grab my plinths, and I'll, be on my merry way. But I rock up to Jim's house, and he's got a full shed. He's actually got 2 full sheds. And we go out to this shed, and I walk into this room that is just dead set hobby heaven. There is 3D prints everywhere. There is, big scale models. He's got a lot of big scale models, like 1/6, 1/8 scale models, and they're all like beautiful X-Men ladies, or like just really awesome sculpts. And I was talking, and all of a sudden I was just like, oh my god, we're in here, Jimbo, let's talk. So we just spent like 2 hours chatting away about all of his stuff. And I'm not a chatter, right? Jim loves having a chat, but I'm not a chatter. But I just spend hours looking at all the cool stuff. And he's got boxes of plinths. He's got 4 3D printers. He's got resin casts all over his shop. It's just like a full workshop. And then his other shed, he's got a giant woodworking setup. He's got like all of the expensive woodworking stuff, you know, like fancy stuff. So, yeah, I go to gyms and I find myself just thinking, yeah, you know what? I could get into 3D printing actually. This is great. You know what? I could get a lathe. I could get a thing a wood turning thing. What a great idea, Dano. Get in, mate. It's not a great idea, Dano. Don't do that. But there you go. I do have a crush on him. He's actually a very, very nice man. Very nice man. Alrighty. So before we go massively further, I think we should XPS foam is a tricky one, mate. You can't use super glue because it melts the foam. PVA glue doesn't hold quick enough. So my answer to that generally is put a layer of epoxy putty over the top. So I use Knead It from Bunnings. Quite expensive, but I'm sure I've showed it on stream before. Knead It. I'll grab it out and show you some more again. Put a layer of that over the top of the foam, and then you can drill a hole, pin it, and super glue it to the Knead It. That usually is what I do. I don't tend to glue straight to XPS foam. This is what the Knead It looks like. Tremendous stuff. Dries in about 5 minutes, and it's very, very hard. Very, very hard. Smells awful, but it's a great tool to have in the kit bag. Yep, Casey's got it there. Yeah, you'll find it's very, very useful. Yeah, don't smell it too much. It's not ideal. Yeah, well, it's like it's an epoxy putty, right? So it's not like super sticky, but you can it'll stick to stuff, and then just use your finger with a bit of water or lick your finger, but don't lick your finger after using that shit. It's toxic, and smush it down. It should stick to it, but you may find that it pops off depending on how textured it is. If it's a smooth foam, it probably won't stick forever. It'll probably pop off, but you can then glue that down with PVA glue. Because that'll adhere properly. When you we were talking about the art, the arts model, creating models based on art. There's also a downside to that, right? Which is people probably feeling like they have to paint it like the art, or they have to paint very, very much better than they already do, perhaps, maybe. So I think one of my pieces of advice to everyone is, like, it's okay to just use contrast paints and paint a model like this. You know, it's okay to just fucking do all sorts of dodgy techniques and stuff, because ultimately it's your little toy soldier. You can do whatever you want with it. And I think maybe one of the advantages of me painting something like this is it probably also makes it look a little more achievable for most. You know, you see the box arts by the Land Studios and the dudes who just are immaculate, and you go, well, I can't paint like that. I'm not going to buy that model. It'll never look that good. Well, most of the time, models will look good just with some paint on them. I'd like to know where my fucking new brush that I bought is. I was literally going to use it today. If Mossy's stolen my makeup brush that I bought, I'm going to blow up. I need to check the artwork. Are those little things sticking out of him metal? Let's have a look. Yes. Great. We might go a little bit of sponging actually on the base. Let's do some sponging. How long have we been at? 1 hour and 18, so that's the other thing I like to demonstrate to people in general. We can do things quickly and good. Doesn't have to take forever. Painting a model. Can also do something that looks good in a reasonably short time frame as well. Yeah, certain people may not be able to achieve same results in an hour and 15 minutes, but sign up to my Patreon and you will. Pat Draws, g'day champion. So this is a model from an upcoming Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter is based on the artworks of Gerald Brom, and this particular artwork is called Alone. So the title Brom Alone is the artist Gerald Brom, and the piece in question, which is called Alone. All from the upcoming Kickstarter, where the link will be somewhere in my social medias, and I'll post it for you very shortly. Indeed. I think I've still got the Kickstarter link, have I? There you go. So it'll definitely have something that doesn't look exactly like the original artwork, but replicates the feeling of it, which I think is good. Zoom in a bit. Okay, let's go. So I'll definitely be using a lot of contrast paints on areas. Love contrast paints, feel like they are a very useful tool in a display painter's arsenal. Indeed, indeed there is. I'll show off the other model I've got again for those people who've just joined from this Kickstarter, which has actually not been released to my knowledge anywhere else. So this is a bit of an exclusive. Here you go. So this is the other model that I've got, which we'll probably do next week. It's a mounted guy, and he's got this sick whip. So yeah, got to do some gap filling, but yeah, great sculpt. Again, based on a piece of artwork. Really cool details in here. Yeah, we lost a couple of those little things along the way, so I've kept those aside. We're going to reattach those where possible. But yeah, great little sculpt. That one's going to be very much in my wheelhouse. Alright, we might put this guy aside. My little pony colours. Could be. Might put this guy aside for a bit and do some work on the base. Which is a big base. It's a big base. And we're going to do some sponging. If I can find my sponge. There's some spongy sponge. Alright. What's going to be the best way to do that? Dunno. We might just get some wrapping paper. Okay, so let's just bring up the artwork again and have a close look at the background. So we've got, again, very warm colours, oranges into warm greys. So and there's a great colour which is actually called heavy warm grey. We'll use that. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be Frankenstein's monster. It's certainly got vibes of that, Pat. So could be that. There's yeah, probably different ways you could interpret a lot of those things, a lot of the artworks. But yeah, my read on it was also Frankenstein's monster. So So this is a fun technique, and it works very, very well for building up preliminary layers of colour. This will not be our final colours. There won't be, all of this texture left on the final result, but it's good to add some natural variation as underlying colours. Can also work quite well for marble. boom, bum, bum, bum. These vines are actually quite problematic. I especially find this technique works well when combined with my favourite tool, the airbrush. Alright. I definitely bought a new brush and I was really keen on using it. Let me see if I can find it. It's definitely not in there. Am I just missing the brush over here? Does not appear to be the case, no. Is it up here, Deno? You put it up there. No. Where is my new brush? It was $5, friends, so you don't need to be worried that I spent a lot of money on a brush that's now lost. But my point was that it is $5, so I can just use it. Okay, let's move into this colour, which is a light flesh. Thanks, Kavictus. Okay, now we will use this as a wash. So we'll just get a little bit more of the light flesh. So one thing I like to do is just mix the colours that I'm using on the model into the colours that we're using on the base. Not revolutionary by any stretch of the imagination, but it does make a little difference at bringing the model together, harmonising everything. G'day, Toppy. A champion earlier was just asking about buying plinths in the US of A, Top. So you may be the guy to ask that question of where should they recommend? And is Caleb Wissenbach a dude that does plinths? Okay. That could be me pulling a name out of a hat. Where do you go? I actually love painting bases because you just get to just absolutely muck around with colours and do wet colours. Bit of wet in wet. Great. I think it was... Yep, I did recommend Taro. I was expecting to be painting the Sparrow Goblin on this stream, and then these models turned up, and I was like, yeah, gotta paint these. How cool is that? They did, yes. They did indeed. As you know, you would probably know, I don't really do a lot of heavy body acrylic stuff, so I've had a little play with them this morning. I don't see myself using them an awful lot, but if you're a heavy body acrylics painter, then they seem quite good. Yeah, they definitely have a nice finish. All right. Yeah. Yeah, so they've got carbon black. Oh, dropping paints all over the place here. Yellow oxide. Carbon black. Primary yellow. Phthalocyanine. Green and blue. A titanium white. Actually, I might get a titanium white out. Always good to try different whites. Pyrrole red. Transparent raw umber. We might get some of that out too. Oh, don't shake. They spray everywhere. Yep. Well, this one looks nice. Actually, turquoise blue. That one looks quite good. So yeah, look, I might challenge myself to paint a figure with those only very soon. And the airbrush, of course. Pistachio. It'll find its way in there, mate. I also got a cool horseman top. I'll show you him right now, actually, because you are a great man and you deserve to see it. And I don't actually think this is there's many people. Or I don't think he's posted too many photos of this guy actually. So very cool. So that one will be right up my alley. Yep, it is. It is sick. Straight in. I haven't seen all of the sculpts. I too am hoping for Red Wing and that chick on the throne. But I think it's unlikely. Good, do that. I hope nothing but the best for you, mate. Alright, so where's my little oxide colour? This is a scale ink. And we may also get some... Actually, I'm sure I've got some other scale inks. Let's try them. This Ink 10 Chestnut is never a bad option. Very potent though. Muy potente. I'm sure there are painters who would recommend that oils is absolutely the go for what I'm doing right now. And those painters would almost certainly be correct. But I'm very unlikely to be able to prevent myself from putting said oils in my mouth. And yes, they definitely aren't fast. Okay, let's go. So we are coming up on 2 hours, which is usually my stopping point, which is nice. But we're painting a lovely model. And so we'll probably just keep going for a little bit. Alright. We'll switch to some brush. See you, chum dabs. All of this that you see is a part of the model itself that is provided. So they give you the whole sort of scene for this particular version. G'day, Chiro Squeal. I am painting a figure that is based on an artwork which looks like this. Thank you. Here's some other stuff I've done. How good is it? Thank you. Haha. Music's all part of the ambience. Thank you, mate. Have a fantastic day. We'll probably finish up shortly, friends, but we'll do a little connected model on base thing and see how we're looking. But we will just do a little bit of this, because I think that will help with our visualization of the finished piece. Bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum. probably will incorporate, as I said, some greener, dark green tones into this. The original artwork does not include the green tones, but that's okay. We get to interpret this piece however we like. We don't have to. We're not painting a box art here where we have to match what we see. We just get to paint with freedom, creativity, and enjoy this super cool range of models. So, all right, roll this up so it's gone. Bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum. You too, Case. Thank you. Hey, come by any time. You're a legend. Okay. So I'll crank that up a smidge. Alright, so if we look at this, yeah, we can see that there's a lot more red in the robes, and there's a lot more darker elements. That's fine. We're still in the early stages, friends, so we'll leave that all to dry and we'll come back and continue mucking around with this piece tomorrow night on stream, which will be at our usual time, usual bat channel. Hope you all have a wonderful Sunday. I'll catch you all then. Big Dano out.